This is an interesting spot. You're heading home for leave from there. I left in May and caught a series of connecting flights home to America. I gave Kelsey a huge kiss at the airport in Dallas, and when I got back to the house, gave our dog Buddy a big hug. It felt great to be back, but it also felt surreal. And this is the strange part of this leave time. I didn't quite know what to do with myself. I could take a hot shower anytime I wanted. I could sit on the couch and play video games. I could drink a beer and eat a cheeseburger outside on the back porch. Nobody was shooting at me. Nobody stunk. Nobody was sleeping on triple-stacked IEDs. Kelsey was finishing up the semester with college and work, so I bought a truck and we drove up to Michigan to see my parents. We had a few bright and happy days with them, then it was soon time to go, just like that. I hugged my parents, gave Kelsey a big kiss, and flew out to Detroit to head back overseas. It felt oddly good to be back to Afghanistan. The feeling is difficult to explain. In America, when I'd hung around with some friends in Dallas and got reacquainted with some of my buddies from high school back in Michigan, I'd seen firsthand how most of the people my age lived. If a dude was 22 or 23 like me, he was usually finishing up college or hanging out trying to find an internship or an entry-level job. He might be living in his parents' basement, trying to scrape together enough money to move out. Or maybe he was partying hard on weekends, or maybe still in a frat. He was almost always short on money, almost always wondering what to do with his future. Not that there was anything wrong with any of that. A guy's got to do what a guy's got to do. But by contrast, at my age in the military, I led people in combat. I controlled firefights. I handled hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. I made decisions that affected whether people would live or die. It felt real. On a personal level, I made decent money. I was married. I had a good credit score. I was thinking of buying a house soon. It felt good to be trusted with this much responsibility. I was proud of my drive and sense of accomplishment. I was already a man. I think statements like that are like what get kids, or I say kids, but like when I meet kids, like I just met at this event we were just at, and this, you know, he's like, hey, I'm 19. I just joined the Marine Corps. I'm leaving September 18th. And that statements like that is what I think makes people join the military, gets a lot of people to join the military. Like 22 years old.
Oh, yeah.
You're getting paid. You got a steady job. Your job is more meaningful than any job they could have. I mean, never mind, maybe they're working at fast food, right? Mm-hmm. Like I did. You know, never mind that they're working at Wendy's. Even if they have a kick-ass job somewhere, it doesn't matter. Your job's more meaningful because you're a soldier fighting for freedom.
Yeah, and they would, you know, you go back home and you see what they're doing, and you're like, wow, not a lot's changed. You know, and I'm like, I've been in Afghanistan. I got married. I have an apartment. I have 2 cars or whatever, and it's at that young of an age. I mean, and my friends back home, they were still really nice, and you know, I still get along with them and everything. I just felt like what I was doing was a different purpose, and I was trusted with more things. I mean, when you're in college and everybody's like, oh, you're a kid in college, but when you're in the Army and you're like, oh, you're in the Army, you're on your second deployment. Yeah. Well, you know, what do you do? Well, I'm in charge of 7 other lives, included as well as my own, and I tell them where to move, what to do, how to shoot, and how to do things, and they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll get some kid in the gym. In my gym will be like, oh yeah, well, you know, I'm only 23, and I'll like, oh yeah, when I was 23, I was in my 3rd SEAL platoon,
killing people.
Actually, we were drinking beers because there was nothing going on. But anyways,
killing Budweisers,
yeah. like a beast. So then, how did you feel about that 2 weeks of leave during the middle of deployment?
Well, I mean, it's a constant worry. Like, how are my guys doing? We had a satellite phone. We didn't have internet or things like that, so I couldn't just be like, hit them up real quick on a
because the Army Facebook. Makes you do that.
Well, yeah, they allow it, and then they say you need, you know, this stuff, and
but they're pretty, aren't they? Don't they push it pretty hard?
No,
oh, I mean, I always thought they pushed it hard.
Well, that's and I don't just don't discriminate. I don't know how to say this politically correct. There's the Army that's at Bagram Air Force Base that wears PT belts, that, you know, goes and gets her Dunkin' Donuts, and that complains because, you know, the latte's too hot. And then there's the people like us where it's like there's 22 of us or 21 of us sitting out in the middle of nowhere, taking no showers. No one's going to come say, hey, you need to do this. Right. We had one kid come out, and I ran into him again in Lansing, Michigan, actually at an event. He, you know, out of the military, and I didn't realize it was him. But he came out. He chose to be a financial guy enlisted as in the financial world, and that's fine. Hey, you want to do finances? You want to work in the S4 shop? Great. Comes out, they're giving a survey, some dumb survey that they're just whatever. Big Army wants, the good idea fairies or whatever. But he's on the rooftop and he's like, "Oh man, I hope we get in a gunfight. This is gonna be great." And look over and say, "Excuse me?" And he's like, "Well, no, I just, because I'm on the fob all the time. I want to see a gun. I hope we get in a firefight." I said, "What don't you get if they shoot at us? My guys could get hit for what you're hoping happens here." I said, "I got an idea. Get off my roof." And he's like, "Well," I said, "No, seriously, I'm going to throw you off this roof if you don't get off it." And he looked at Critter, one of my guys, and Critter goes, "Oh no, Sergeant Mills is real. He'll throw you off this roof." And I said, "If we get shot at, don't get in my guy's way. Stay the fuck off the roof and get down."
Yeah.
And he was just like, "But I don't get it." I'm like, "It's not a game. This isn't. I mean, when we get in a firefight, we get people run up in their PT shorts and their flip flops and they got their Kevlar on and their body armor, but." I mean, that's real life. Bullets are flying. And the way he was just so nonchalant, "I hope we get in a firefight. That'd be really cool." It's like, my guys could get shot. Like, what part of cool don't you get? So, I mean, the Army does push some things, but other times we're just left alone.
Yeah, I just remember guys going from guys that were in combat all the time, not fobbits, and it seemed like their commands wanted them to go home for those 2 weeks and, "Hey man, you need to take this break on your."
The leave's
14
mandatory.
month.
Yeah, I think you meant like calling home. Calling home stuff's not mandatory.
Oh no, I meant going home. Sorry.
Yeah, you have to go home.
You have to go. Okay, that's what I thought.
And some guys don't want to, but you have to.
The calling home thing, I think is I don't know how often you called home, but I try to call him like once a week.
Mm-hmm. Once or twice a week.
Because if you start doing more than that, I think it's worse on both of you.
Well, you run out of things to say.
Well, that's a good point.
Cool. No offense to anybody's love life out there, but in my wife and I get along great, but when I would call home, "Hey, what are you doing?" "Well, just another day in Afghanistan." I don't want to be like, "Well, I was out and I got shot at, and then I ended up killing 2 people, and then this guy got hurt, but it's okay. He's going to be fine.
Yeah,
He's
don't
back
worry
in the
about me."
States. So you can't say that kind of stuff. Like, "Oh, well, I went on patrol today, got to help a kid tie a shoe," and like that gets old. And then what'd you do? "Well, I went to school today," and I mean, there's no real story there.
Right.
So you got to let it build for a week or two.
I definitely recommend that.
Well, I mean that in the nicest way possible.
No, totally. And I think if you're calling home every day, then you're like you're missing and you're connecting, and it's just like, no, like you said, let it build. Have something to talk about real.
Mm-hmm.
And
because then it gets annoying. Like, "Well, what are you thinking about?" And then you get, and I see it happen. I even say it happened to me and Kelsey. Like, "What are you thinking about?" "Well, no, what are you thinking? What do you want to talk about?" "Well, I don't know." "Oh, you got nothing to talk to me about?" It's like, no, I don't. And it's not a bad thing. It's not that I love you any less. It's that literally I can't tell you what happened here because it's not going to make you feel better about the situation. Mm-hmm. So,
and another like thing is, you got all this stuff going on, and then your wife's like, "You won't believe this," and you're like, "What?" And she's like, "We lost that library book that we got out, and now they called and they want us to pay for it." And you're like, "Just cut the check. Just give them the check. We're going to be good."
Well, are they overcharging? I mean, do your research. Can you find it online? Cheaper. Some of the big
drama at home.
The wide-eyed, like, "Oh no!" It's like, that's not okay. Well, I watched a guy bleed out today. I had to put my finger in a bullet hole, so I get what you're saying. Same thing. I was like, "Whoa, my God, can you believe this?" But you go ahead. Tell me about what happened with you today.
Tell me about the spoiled mayonnaise that you had on your sandwich.
Oh, that's no joke. That's awful.
You get home from that deployment. Going back to the book, my parents flew down from Michigan. Josh and Deanna. Josh is your brother-in-law. Mm-hmm. Deanna is his wife. We're there, and some of the guys from my unit came over. I manned the barbecue. The smell of charcoal-fired hamburgers drifted over the neighborhood, and I felt like the luckiest man alive. Kelsey and I had a dog, 2 cars, and now a house. We were a young family living the American dream. So you had the Goldvine house, and now you actually bought one, right?
Power of attorney. I called my wife, and she's like, "Guess what I did today?" I was like, "What?" She goes, "I bought a house." I'm like, "How did you do that?" She's like, "Well, you bought it. Sign that piece of paper. Power of attorney." So speaking of jokes I tell every time I talk, there we go. But no, we bought a house, and then my brother-in-law, they had a young child. They still do, Reagan, but at the time she was like 7-8 months old, I guess. And I was like, "You drinking tonight, Josh?" Because I have responsibilities, like, "Oh, I'm all holier than thou" or something. Like, I can't drink. And then by the end of the night, he passed out in a fire ant hill, drunk as could be. He smoked a pack of cigarettes. He doesn't even smoke cigarettes. Smoked a pack of cigarettes. Trying to wake him up. He's in a fire ant hill in my backyard. Like, "Oh, that hurts so bad." And then I was like, responsibilities, huh?
Famous last words.
Yeah.
Back to the book. Fortunately, after I got home, I didn't struggle with any past memories of combat, although I know any number of soldiers who do. I told a few stories to Kelsey about our unit's time in Robat and BMG, about going without a shower for so long, and about some firefights we got into at Impala and Corvette. But she didn't like to talk about those things much, and I understood that. I found I could shut off the memories pretty easily. My logic was straightforward. I was a combat soldier. That's what I did. I told my mind to go to certain places, and I refused to allow it to go to other places. I found that I could connect with my family best that way, although I know other guys handled things differently with equal success. And the reason I threw that in there is just because, I get a lot of guys that ask me about how to handle the whatever memories they're bringing home. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a pretty good methodology, man. Like, okay, I'm not going to think about that right now.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I had to bury it. You're just so desensitized when you're over there. Like, I'm pretty sure the book talks about it, but we went on patrol, and then one of the A&A guys, or A&P, was wearing a bright green, like a construction vest. And we were all getting ready to load up in the trucks, and someone made the joke, I think it was me or maybe Critter, but either way, we're like, well, that guy's going to get shot today, because he stood out. He ended up being the only guy that was shot that day, and he ended up dying, eventually from his wounds. But she's like, oh, well, yep, that guy died. But you don't say it like hoping to get shot, but you're just like, well, that's part of what happens. But she didn't like hearing my stories of the combat and things like that. So I was just like, well, I guess I won't talk about them. She's like, you just get so excited about telling those stories and you laugh about it, and it's real serious. I'm like, well, I made it,
Yeah.
But you still snap into action. I was driving to my house with my buddy, and we went past the firing range, and they opened up the 240s, and I hit the brakes, contact right, and I pull over, and me and him are both reaching for our M4s. We're supposed to be next to us. We're like, oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm in a minivan.
It was a Chevy Impala.
For me, it was a minivan.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I have a minivan. I love it.
Oh, speaking of minivans, you found out you're going to be a daddy at this point too when you came home from your second deployment.
Oh, no, that'd be awful if I came from second deployment and I found I was going to be a dad. It took us a little while.
Oh,
yeah.
Well.
4 months after I got back, we found out we were going to,
Right on.
Yeah, that gets confusing when I get home.
I wasn't trying to imply anything.
No, I know. Yeah, but we, so didn't plan on it right away, having children, but found out we were going to have children or have a daughter, and worked out great, I'm very excited. Did the whole nesting thing. My wife had a sweet Mazda 3 hatchback.
What's the whole nesting thing?
Set the baby room up, get everything ready.
Yeah.
I kept telling my wife, because I bought her a brand new car in 2010. It was brand new off the line, Mazda 3 hatchback. She loved it. And I was like, that baby seat's not going to fit in that car. And she's like, yeah, it's going to be fine. I'm like, no, it's not. Finally, I got so mad one day, after arguing with her about it, I went out there and I popped the car seat in. And I said, go ahead and jump in your driver's seat, honey. Go ahead, jump in there. And she couldn't fit. She's like, oh, just get rid of it then. She was so mad. Loved every second of it. Because then I won that game.
Yeah. You were right. That feels good.
I got you off topic. Sorry. Yeah, we were gonna have a kid.
I'm straight on topic. Way tight on topic over here.
I know you're. Yeah. You're a professional. I didn't doubt that. I know what you're doing.
September 27th, 2011. Our daughter was born. Wow. I made some weird noises in the back of my throat. There our kid was with goo all over her, and she was wrinkly and scrunched up, and all I could think of that she was the most beautiful thing in the world. It's okay to cry, the nurse said. I didn't know how to cry, so I just kept making weird noises in my throat.
It was awkward. I was like, and the nurse is like, it's okay to cry, Mr. Mills. I'm like, I don't know how to cry. And I went, woo! That was weird. And this lady's like, this guy's taking this kid home. I mean, I almost fought the pediatrician that day.
Oh, man.
One of the kids, they were talking about Belgian beer or some damn thing. And I hear the two doctors talking. My kid's in there crying. And the nurse comes out and said, hey, who's supposed to be looking at my kid? And they're like, oh, doctor, he has a baby in there. He goes, I don't have one in there. And she goes, you must have forgot. He goes, huh, I must have forgot, huh? And chuckles it off and then goes back talking. And I told the nurse, said, get that kid back in that room. And I turn around at that guy, and I'm already up 18, 20 hours because we went into labor induced or whatever, and eyes are bloodshot, and I'm just still jacked from lifting weights, and I'm like, you're not going to look at my kid. Find me a better pediatrician. And the guy's like, And I had to go get Kelsey something. And then they came in. She goes, they were very nice when they came in. I was like, I don't know why. I'm towering over this guy like, I will beat you if you touch my kid. You're not doing your job, bro. Then we put her in the car seat, take her home, and we get home, and my mother-in-law's with us, and we're looking, and Kelsey goes to get out of the car. She goes, why is she not buckled? And I said, Tammy, I thought you did. She goes, Travis, I thought you did it. So strike one for my kid.
Good dad award, number one.
Yeah.
Coming out of the gates strong.
Epic fail, 45-minute drive, no car seat, or no buckled car seat. I'm a good driver.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, that's good. Luckily. And meanwhile, this time you're still a soldier. You go to jump master school, and you failed jump master school the first time.
I did, yeah. And the sad part, it wasn't like the JMPI where you got
what part did you fail?
The written exam.
Dang.
Like the written part, yeah. That reading, it's fundamental.
No, you know what? That academic part of jump master school, I've heard that's the most brutal part.
It was rough. And I failed that, and everybody's like, "Oh, you must be a dumbass for failing." I'm like, "I am." Yeah. But I went back the next cycle, and I ended up passing.
Made it through. I thought it was cool in here. You talked about, one kid you threw out the plane.
Yeah. Yeah, I give
another kid you kicked out the plane.
They were fine.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They come and thank you later because they're just like scared, right?
I'm not sure if they made it on. I don't talk to them.
Well, the book that you made up here, you claimed
most fabricated book. So I give them my brief, and they always made the youngest or the least senior guy give the brief. Mm-hmm. So like you tell them the brief. If I say green light go and you don't go, I'll give you the order 2 more times. If you don't jump, I will unhook you, attach you, give you off order, don't touch your equipment, throw, say go to the real paratroopers or whatever.
That's what a no jumper, is that what it's called? Do they have a name for it?
Yeah, jump refusal.
Jump refusal, that's right. I knew there was some military term for it.
Oh, yeah. And then as I'd say my brief, it's all 3 pages you got to memorize, I'd stop my brief right there and say, but I guarantee you today, if you're on my door, you are going. So I told the guy, green light, go. And then the first guy went, the second guy went, third guy went, fourth guy or whatever. They all go. And then finally I get to 13 or 14. I'm supposed to exit all, 30 paratroopers or 32, whatever. And this guy's froze. And I'm like, I know you think you're not going to go, but you better jump out of this plane. And he's like, and I said, I told you were going. And then back of his shirt, back of his pants, I just threw him out. And then the person behind him I'm like, get going. And then another jump, the same thing happened. I said, I told you were going. He stood there frozen the door, 1 foot back. I just grabbed the top. Oh, sorry, backed up. Grabbed the top of the plane. I just kicked right in the back of his parachute. Out the door he went.
Yeah. I was we'd hear those rumors, but I never saw it happen.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't jump, they're going to lose money. And then they're going to waste a good pass. And then the plane either can go back around, make another pass, and prolong everybody's night and make it harder. Because I have a person I got to do paperwork on now, which I don't like to do. Or... You
can barely write, from what I understand so far.
No right hand, so I used to be right-handed, so what do you expect? But that's cool. Take pokes at me with nine arms and legs. But yeah, I mean, so it was just fear got the best of them. And I just was like, no, we're going today. And I said some other choice words in their ear, but they went.
But what I liked about that from a broader perspective than just airborne school is so often, man, people just need to go. Because like you said, once you go and you get that first thing under your belt, then they go and they jump. It's no problem, But so often people they just hesitate. They're just scared of the unknown, And what you got to do is just go, just jump.
Well, my 5th jump in airborne school, back when I was, PV2 Mills, I jumped out and it was nighttime combat. I was so scared, I didn't know what to do. But I was like, well, I'm not gonna be the big sissy on this airplane, So I dove out like Superman, and I got my left leg caught up in the risers. I was coming down like a flamingo, and my chute started to collapse on me, and I was shaking I was falling faster than everybody. I had to pull my reserve.
You pulled your reserve at airborne school?
Yeah.
No kidding.
They were mad about that.
Oh yeah.
But I was dropping fast, and
I guess you survived, which is a good thing.
Yeah. But my leg was tangled up so bad. So in the first jump in division, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And then the guy in front of me went, and I was like, well, okay. Yeah. He did it.
Dang. That's not good to have to pull your reserve at airborne school.
Mm. But I mean, it wasn't because of malfunction. It was because of my own stupidity. I dove out like a Superman. My left leg got caught up in there, and I couldn't shake it out. And then I was watching the silhouettes above me. And they're like, pull your reserve, Mills. I'm like, okay.
Dang. You pick up E6. So now you're a staff sergeant. Take over a weapons squad.
Mm-hmm. Which is the senior spot. But I went to work that day. I got finished ALC or whatever. Which is an E6 course. I went to my first sergeant, said I have offers in 2nd and 1st Brigade. 508. I'm going to take those. I don't have a squad leader spot, when I get back from this 4-day vacation or 4-day break. I came back and they gave me the senior spot. Here you
Nice.
go. Oh, yes.
And Kelsey, she didn't really want you to go overseas again, did she?
I mean, yes and no. She understood it. But, I mean, obviously no wife wants their loved one to go overseas or their husband to go overseas. But we just bought a house. The baby was just born. Quite frankly, we could use the tax-free money. 100%. We could use the money that you get from being over there. And also we have the soldiers come to my house and have barbecues, and she sees how they look up to me and how I'm in charge of them. And it's this whole camaraderie and brotherhood thing. I had orders to Fort Hood. I had my sergeant major cancel them. I was like, I don't know why you're kicking me out. He goes, I'm not kicking you out. I said, Sergeant Major, I have orders at Fort Hood. And he's like, do you not want to go? I said, no, I need to deploy with these guys. So he's just like, I'll take care of it.
Yeah. The way you put it in the book is the reason I went overseas was because of the soldier next to me, the guys in my squad. Our job was to protect America and keep the Taliban at bay. I trained my men. I taught them all I knew. It was my job to take care of them. I couldn't imagine them deploying without me.
And I mean, I was quite frankly upset when I got those orders. But they were building a new brigade, and they wanted combat NCOs with over 2 years of combat experience to go help, lead these guys. And I was like, noble, I get it, but not for me right now.